The title of this lesson is Just Like You and Me. In James chapter 5, verse 17, it says, Elijah was a man subject to like passions as we are, and he prayed earnestly that he might not rain, and it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months. And he prayed again, and the heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. In verse number 17, we learn about Elijah. We know that James, who was the brother of Jesus Christ, wrote about an Old Testament prophet who was used mightily by God. But I like it says in verse 17, in the A portion, it says, Elijah was a man subject to like passions as we are. And the word subject means has a nature just like us. I come by to encourage somebody today that God uses ordinary people just like you and me. Oftentimes we think that God looks at our resume, He looks at our credit score, but no, God looks at our availability. Elijah was just an average Joe who God used, who was willing to be available, and God was willing to do miracles in his life. So if you're feeling like that you're a nobody, you're somebody in the eyes of God. We were created in God's image, and all of us have a purpose. But sometimes we look at people in the Bible and we don't think that we can be used mightily by God. But we see that Elijah was moved mightily by God because he was just an average person. God is not looking for people that have most credentials. God is not looking at an individual's bank account. God is looking at individuals' hearts who are willing to be dedicated and willing to make a difference for Him. But when we look at Elijah, he's a type of Jesus Christ. Remember, Jesus, who was God's only begotten Son, was used mightily. He came down in 22 generations and he humbled himself to be used mightily by God. He died, and by his death and his burial and his resurrection, we have been adopted into his family. And so we are a royal priesthood. We are royalty. We have to realize who we are, but we have to stay humble and allow God to mold us. There's an expression they say, if you're not humble, you'll crumble. And God is looking for people who are willing to just say, God, here I am. I'm just an average Joe. Never say you're just a custodian. Never just say you're a single parent. Never just say you're a lawyer. Whatever it is that God has placed you at, that's your ministry. And so if we would just stop putting titles on everything and just be humble and realize God uses ordinary people. All of us are ordinary. Yes, we accumulate different things, and sometimes we try to impress one another. But when God understands that we're willing to decrease so that then He can increase, then He can get all the glory and the honor and praise. So when you step out the way, then God can step you up and use you. But we have to remember that God uses ordinary people. So it reminds us that we don't know who God can use, but I'm encouraging somebody today. If God can use Elijah, He can use you. He can use you. He can use me. He can use anybody. He's just looking for willing servants. He's looking for people who come to the point in their life that they say, yes, I'm sold out. I surrender. I give you everything that I have. So remember, whenever you're going through in life, don't forget, God uses ordinary people. Don't think you don't have what it takes, because greater is He that is in you than he's that in the world. The Bible also says, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. So we have more than enough, but we just have to look at ourselves and say, hey, I'm just an average Joe. I'm just an ordinary person, just willing to tell somebody about Jesus. So God bless you. God keep you. This is the title of the message. God uses ordinary people just like you and me.